Hi guys. So today we'll be discussing about the mission impossible in tennis, that is to beat Nadal at the French Open. So I have created a lot of videos where I have shown Nadal's strengths on clay and how Federer loses to Nadal a lot of times on clay and he has not been able to beat him at the French Open. But today we are going to talk in general, why is it so difficult to beat Nadal on clay? And before doing that, let's look at some of the statistics for Nadal on clay. So he has won 13 French Open titles spanning from 2005 when he won his first French Open by beating Federer in the semi-finals and then Piotta in the finals. And of course, last year he also won his 13th French Open title beating Djokovic comprehensively in the final. Now he has had the longest streak of consecutive matches on clay. So he has won 81 matches. When that's an amazing stat. He is 13 and 0 in French Open semis and finals. So he has never lost a match in the semis or the finals at the French Open. And that too with the likes of Djokovic and Federer being around, and multiple times in the finals he has been able to beat Federer and Djokovic, who are his most closest competitors. He has also been able to win 4 French Opens without dropping a set. He has been unbeaten to Federer at French Open throughout his career, and he has lost to Djokovic just once. His overall record at the French Open is 100 wins and only 2 losses, and it's like 98% of the time he has been able to win in the span of 15 years. Now, that is an amazing stat again. Definitely, it sounds like a mission impossible to beat Nadal on clay. He has also never lost 2 consecutive matches on clay. Another amazing stat. So now we know what Nadal can do on clay, but now in general we'll talk about the key factors that are important for any player to win on clay. And then we'll compare those with Nadal, and then we'll see a few examples of Nadal's ability to play on clay. So, any good player on clay has to have a good baseline game because the court surface is slower, the ball goes slower through the air, so definitely it means longer rallies and good ground strokes. So if you have a weaker side, like if you are not able to hit a good backhand, then of course it's game over. Nadal will keep going to your backhand because there is more time. So Nadal can run around his backhand and use his forehand to open up the court. He can also rally well with his backhand. He has a good slice as well. And because of his topspin, he can stay well behind the baseline and just keep on hitting the balls from there. Because he has such a good defense, it's almost impossible for anybody to hit a winner against him. Okay. The next factor on clay is movement. So of course, with the clay, if you can slide well, if you can chase a lot of balls down, then it definitely helps on clay. Defense, I have already mentioned. Fitness and stamina, again, because the conditions are so hot and humid, it's very important that any player is fully fit because it's a 5 set match, lot of long rallies, the biggest court in the world, so it will definitely take a lot out of you as a player. Then we have mental strength, of course, because of so much stress, so much stamina required to win. It definitely will have an impact on your psyche, and it's important to stay calm in the important moments, which of course Nadal has done pretty well. Then the ability to create angles on the court. So we have seen a lot of good players who are aggressive, really aggressive, who hit very flat shots, and those are helpful in other surfaces than clay because on clay, because the court is slower, as the court is slower, so it's very difficult for any player to hit winners, and because there is a lot of area behind the baseline, so any defensive player, any good baseliner can go really back behind the baseline and use his top spin or defensive ability to counter punch and hence win the points where the aggressor should have won. Okay. Then we have the variety. Of course, only hitting flat shots is not going to win you matches. Also, the serve, which is a very important shot in tennis, is also quite neutralized on clay because, of course, the ball goes slower through the air, and the ability for players to stand way back behind the baseline because there is that area. In all the other courts, we don't have much big area behind the baseline, but the court on Philippe Chatrier on the French Open, it's the biggest area in the world. So that's why I think it's really important that serve has to be neutralized, and it's not going to be your biggest weapon on clay, especially at the French Open. So now that we have looked at the key factors, let's compare these to Nadal's. Of course, so most of the factors that we just discussed, definitely Nadal will be in context for that. So topspin forehand is Nadal's best strength. Why? Because it is a rather safe play for him. So he's able to create power, he's able to create angles and still hit a relatively safer shot than his opponent because of the huge topspin that he has. So the ball clears the net by a higher margin, and hence mishits and all the slower and lower things, a few mistakes here and there, they don't cause any loss of points for Nadal because the ball is so much above the net, hit above the net. It's a quite safe shot for him. Then we have the defense. Of course, Nadal has the best defense in the world, and especially on clay, the amount of passing shots he hits, the way he is able to get into position and anticipate, I think that is really a cool feature of his game. Stamina and fitness, everybody knows to beat Nadal at a 5 set match is really a daunting challenge on any surface because he's so fit, he has got a lot of stamina. Then of course the form, because he plays so many tournaments before the French Open, he usually plays 4 to 5 tournaments, and Nadal is a sort of player who actually likes to practice and play more and more matches to get into the groove. And by the time French Open arrives, he's in his best form. And the first few matches at the French Open, the first few rounds actually help him get into more form because the court surfaces are slower, because he has time to adjust and adapt. I think it all plays in his favor. Then we have his mental strength and his will to win. So even in matches where he has been down and out at the French Open, and yes, that has happened a lot of times against Soderling, against Schwartzman, against Djokovic, and a lot of other players. For example, Isner at 2011. So he has been down and out, maybe because of XYZ reasons, but still he is able to win in the end because of his will, because he wants to win. Even though he has 13 titles, still if you see him on the court at the French Open, you will feel like he's going for his first French Open title. So that is the amount of enthusiasm, that is the amount of will he has to win. Then, of course, there are a lot of factors that come into play. So if you combine all these factors, you create Nadal. And it's so difficult for any other player to match Nadal in all these areas. So maybe Federer is, super talented. He has a very good aggressive game. He has a good serve. He's good at the net. But then when you see these 8 factors that I've listed here, in the mental strength, you have to give it to Nadal. Okay. The will to win as well, I think you need to give it to Nadal. The stamina and fitness, of course, again you need to give it to Nadal, and the topspin forehand. So even though Federer's forehand is really good and maybe one of the best in the game, but here on this surface, Nadal's forehand proves out to be much better because of the conditions. So any player who is playing well on clay has to play well considering these 8 factors, and it is so difficult for any player to have all these 8 qualities that Nadal has. Now, let's talk about the vulnerable years. So it hasn't been all smooth sailing for Nadal over the years, and it's a long time. Okay, 15 years is a long time. So Nadal has been vulnerable in his career, and I would say he was more vulnerable initially in his career when he just started to win. So even the match against Federer in 2005 French Open was a really close one, even though he won in 4 sets. But I think Federer had chances there. In 2006, I think that is the best chance that Federer had to win, because Nadal has himself admitted in a lot of interviews that he was quite nervous because he was the defending champion, and Federer definitely had improved a lot on clay that year. His backhand was so good. I think that was the best backhand we have seen from Federer that year on clay in 2006. And then even then he didn't win the French Open. He had a lot of chances, but Nadal's those 8 factors that I've listed came into picture, and they pulled him through that match. Then in 2011, Nadal was facing a few fitness issues. He was also losing to Djokovic a lot of times, and he was vulnerable even with Federer in the finals. I think the first set Federer was ahead 5-2 and had a set point on Nadal's serve. He just hit a drop volley and a slice shot, and it went out and things changed. He lost the set 7-5. So after being ahead 5-2, he lost the set 7-5. And then after that, even though Federer continued to play well, but Nadal was better at the end. In 2017, I have put this here, even though Nadal won 2017 French Open without dropping a set, still I have kept it as a vulnerable year because Nadal was also coming back from a huge injury, and because he had not played in 1 or 1.5 years on clay, definitely he was rusty, and he was beaten that year by Federer at the Australian Open. So he was lacking confidence, and it was a good opportunity for the other players to beat him. But then, as I have mentioned, he plays so many tournaments before the French Open that he usually gets back into form, and that sets a good platform for him to perform his best at the French Open. All right, so now we have talked a lot. Let's see a few examples and see how Nadal's abilities that I have discussed, come into place. So this is one of the key strategies here that we are going to discuss that Nadal has been using against Federer specifically, and that is to pepper Federer's backhand. Now we are not saying that Federer's backhand is bad, but on this surface, especially against Nadal's forehand topspin, it's definitely his weaker shot. And why? Because Nadal can hit like 10 consecutive balls to Federer's backhand, sorry. And Federer, even though he is hitting a good backhand, it's so difficult for him to control the shoulder high balls, time and time again. So he plays well, of course, but eventually he opens up the court because of his closed stance, first of all, the side stance that Federer has when he hits his backhand, and of course, if he is hitting the backhand to the middle of the court, Nadal always has that opportunity to run around his backhand and then hit a forehand in the open court. So this is what we are going to see in this point. So let's have a look. So you can see Federer is trying really hard. He's hitting good high balls, but then eventually he'll make a mistake and give some opening to Nadal. You can see here. So even though Nadal has hit a very good shot here, but Federer can't do much more than that, right? He will eventually hit one shot that's going to land in the middle of the court and will open up the court for Nadal. Now, in the next example, again we are going to see a good rally between Federer and Nadal, but eventually Federer just makes one small mistake. He just hits one backhand shot, and it gives the opportunity to Nadal to use the open court. And it's a very important point. So it's a deuce point here. And Federer is trying really hard to rally. You can see Nadal is constantly going to Federer's backhand. Federer is trying really hard not to go cross court. And even when he's going cross court, he's trying to go really hard. So you can see he's really aggressive, Federer, with his backhand. Now just one short backhand and that's it. Point is over. So it's so difficult for Federer to keep, continuing on that backhand to forehand rally with Nadal. And that is one of the key strategies over the years that Nadal has used, not only on clay, but on other surfaces against Federer. Now, in this example, we'll see how Federer's variety could have been the solution. Now, in the beginning of his career, Federer was so good. He was playing so well against all the other players. Maybe he didn't think that he needs to change his game. And I think that was the starting point for his, defeats against Nadal on clay. Because initially, if you see in 2006, the matches before the French Open, Federer actually looked like he was okay to rally with Nadal. He was trying to rally well with Nadal, and that was not the correct strategy. Even though Federer's game was really good, but he should have understood that Nadal's game is better on clay from the baseline. So maybe he needed to be more aggressive or use some sort of variety. He understood that later on. So now Federer knows exactly how to play Nadal, but definitely now both of their careers are towards the end and they don't meet often on clay. But it would have been really interesting to see had Federer used this aggressive style of play and also some variety, some more variety initially in his career when Nadal was also becoming a better player and he was not that good with his backhand and on the net. Federer would definitely have more chances to win at that time. So here in this point you can see how Federer uses his slice backhand, a quick slice backhand to win the point and create some balance problems for Nadal. You can see here. And a good backhand down the line and then he opens up the court. Now in this example, I want to show you the effort required to win a single point against Nadal. Now this is French Open 2006 and Nadal is just trying to serve out the match and you can see Nadal is being aggressive. So another point I want to make here is a lot of players when they are on the verge of winning a big tournament or on the verge of winning a big match, they usually tend to be a really tentative. They wait for the opponent's errors. But that is not the case with Nadal. He usually goes for the win. He usually goes for the winner and he's not afraid to take his chances. And that is what we are seeing here. Now obviously Federer played a really good point to win this one and you can see that. Now even here you can see Nadal reached for the ball. It's just that it was a little bit wide. You can see it's so difficult for anybody to win a single point against Nadal. Now here we can see an example where Djokovic is serving for the set. It's the second set. He's 5-3 up and it's 30 all. Now here is what I'm saying. To beat Nadal, you need to win rather than hoping for Nadal to lose. So here we'll see Djokovic use the angles of the court and finish the point on his terms rather than waiting for Nadal to lose. And that's what you need to do every single time. Otherwise, it's game over. So you can see Djokovic being really aggressive, hitting the ball really hard, and now he'll use the angles. So this is how it has to be this good to win a point. Now let's see Nadal's super forehand, one of his biggest strengths on clay. Now this is about the big points. Now it's 4-3 in the fifth set. Djokovic is near victory and you can see how Nadal plays on this big point. Just see his forehand. Awesome. Now another super forehand from Nadal. Now, what can you do against this shot? I mean, Djokovic can only stand and see this ball pass. Amazing, isn't it? Now, here is young Nadal in 2005 against Federer, and you can see how he plays on the important points even so early in his career, where nobody knew him as a Grand Slam champion. And you can see it's the third set. The score is 5-4. Federer is serving to stay in the set, and he makes a small error on the slice shot, and obviously he's frustrated. And then we'll see how Nadal turns defense into offense and takes the set on a very important point. So that's a mistake from Federer. It's long, and obviously he's frustrated because it's such an important point in the game. It's the third set, crucial third set, and now it's set point for Nadal. Now it's a good serve. Federer is on the aggressive mode. It's a smash. He mishits it, and now Nadal is back in the point. Now Federer gives too much open court to Nadal, and now Nadal is not afraid to come in the front and then close it. Now, in this point, we'll see Federer's class. That's one of the best points Federer has played on the net, on the clay against Nadal, and even that is not enough to beat Nadal at the French Open. Now here, as we discussed, that Federer's best chance to win against Nadal was in 2006, and I think this is the third set in that final, and the crucial juncture where both the players had exchanged one set, and it was the third set, and it was like 2-all or 2-1, and Nadal was serving, and Federer had three breakpoint chances. So Federer was playing really well in this third set. He was being aggressive. Of course, his backhand was fine as well. You can see he's hitting very deep backhands, being aggressive on the forehands, moving Nadal from side to side. Good smash. And now it's three break points. Three break points to Federer. It's love 40 on the Nadal serve, and see how he responds. See, he goes for the winner himself. So Nadal's ability to not give too many chances to his opponent to hit a winner, especially on big points, is very crucial. Now here you can also see his variety. So it's so brave for him to use his drop shot at such an important point. Now it's one more break point remaining, so two saved. Now you can see Federer makes a mistake. Now this was definitely an easy shot for Federer by his standards. It was such a crucial point, and he made one mistake, and three break points have come and gone for Federer, and now Nadal will try to serve his way out of it. So you can see Federer is trying really hard to push and win the point, get into the set, get ahead in the set, but Nadal just doesn't give away cheap points at all. Another break point for Federer, and now Nadal will use his wide serve for an ace, not an ace, but a very good serve, and this is how he saves the break point. So his ability to play well on the big points is also very evident here, and you will see another good serve. That's another good serve. Now let's look at some of Nadal's passing shots. As I mentioned, that is also a very important factor. Now this is 2006 against Matthew. You can see how he can play well from such defensive positions. Another passing shot. Let's look at it. That is so difficult to defend against if he can produce such good angles from the back of the court. And if you see the replay, you can clearly see how much back behind the baseline he is, and still he is able to hit this shot with such a good angle. You can see he has to stretch a lot, and nothing Matthew can do. He's not even looking. So okay, so I think we discussed almost all the points, and you can see it's so difficult to beat Nadal on clay, especially at the French Open because of all these factors. Now, to beat him, I think there are only a few situations where it can happen, and it has happened. One is when he's not fit enough to play, he's struggling with an injury, or he's struggling with his form. Now, even if he's struggling with his form, he can usually still win the match somehow. But of course, fitness issues can cause him to lose. And then the other way around is if a player is having a magical day, his opponent is playing like the best match of his life, like Soderling played in 2009, even though Nadal was struggling with his fitness, but Soderling played a great match there, and such is the level that the player should have against Nadal if he wants to beat him at the French Open. Now that rarely happens, and that is why Nadal is almost impossible to beat at the French Open. Thanks for watching.
快点握手，这边会。